new input. Welcome into another Tuesday night evening blend. I am Pop Blender, and with me is, in full-on prequel mode, Matthew Matson, showing off those badass figures. 3 badass Sith, too, for that matter. Holy
Well,
moly.
it is Revenge of the Sixth today.
That's true. That's true. Happy
Which,
Revenge of the Sixth.
yeah, well, technically it's the fifth, and they can also claim the sixth, right? Because whatever. But
Whatever. Shit.
honestly, if you want to do it, it's May the 4th, and then Cinco de Mayo, and then Revenge of the Sixth. Because Revenge of the Sixth needs to come after Cinco de Mayo because of the food you just ate. And anyway.
Well, I got to tell you, I didn't partake because I was partaking in working last night. So I had my work cut out for me, although it wasn't crazy busy for me. We're not a Mexican restaurant, but I did have people who didn't want to go on a wait, right? Go sit and go somewhere for a wait. So they came to me. So I made a ton of margaritas last night, of which I make a damn good margarita. Amongst other things, but yeah, no. I saw Amazon, or there were some sales, whatever, kind of, some stuff out and everything. So hopefully, maybe somebody took advantage of that if they are into Star Wars figures, especially, maybe even some of the clothing and stuff like that. But yeah, man. No, look, I'm all about it. Look, I'm gonna address a couple things today. But first and foremost, Matthew, I definitely want to say hello to you. How was your day? All good today, buddy?
Yeah, well, it's another day in paradise. We finally got the AC unit at work fixed. They came
Shit.
They came to replace it,
God.
and we told them not to on that day because it was thunder, lightning, and pouring out rain.
Yep.
They decided to start the process and leave us hanging for a week. And they said, "Oh, we can't get back to it until it dries out." But guess what? The guys didn't show up at 8 o'clock on Monday. So by the time they got there and sat in their van for 30 minutes, it started raining. And they finally got it taken care of on Monday. And then today the roofers came to try and fix the leaks, and they couldn't complete that task either. But work is work.
First world problem.
Yeah, first world problems. Yeah. But this weekend we had free comic book day. That we went to the comic book store first thing in the morning, and then we went to Scarborough Fair after that. So we had a good weekend.
Beautiful. I did participate in Free Comic Book Day, and I do have my selections actually over there. I know you were showing me a couple of them, and then I made a if this was a comic channel, I would have made a grave mistake. I would have been canceled. For my mistake. And I'll let 3-Star Draw know that, yes, the other book that you wanted me to grab, you don't need it because it came out last year. So, of which then I got tricked. But yeah, Free Comic Book Day was Saturday. And so, yeah, I went by on my way to work and picked up a few goodies, including the kind of the G.I. Joe Energon Universe continuation there, and read it, and it's great, and I love it. Love the way it's going.
Yeah, it was really good.
So yeah, man. So 2 things before I get into the chat. Okay, number 1, just address this. I don't go into every movie or TV show hating something.
Right.
You and I both are accused of this on a regular basis. Um, I know I am. But most of the time, I may be joking around. I may, send a super chat or a comment, playing around, But in all honesty, like I'm like anybody else. I want stuff to be good. I
Yep.
want it to be good. I want to spend my time watching something good.
Yep.
And yeah, I may have strong opinions, sometimes that might get me in trouble. I don't know. But point being is that I'm not a person who can just go and watch something and just accept it. I'm not saying I can't have a popcorn movie,
Right.
but at the same time, like if I have things to compare something to, like Star Wars,
Mm-hmm.
like MCU stuff, then I'm going to compare it.
Yep.
It's only natural, right? So, yeah. And I'll get into it. We'll get into it when we talk about Thunderbolts, but I don't go into everything looking to hate it off the bat.
So
It's
this was brought up in another chat pretty recently, and one of our buddies was talking about it on one of his streams, and he's like, well, going in and talking about a movie or TV show and talking about being critical of it, that's just bad juju. And I'm like, how is that bad juju to express an opinion on how you feel about something, right? Isn't that a positive thing that you're expressing yourself? And if you don't like something that may be different than other people, that's fine. I don't care if you like it and I don't. I'm just
right.
expressing that I do or don't like something and why. And I'm giving the points as to why, because I can't stand it when somebody says I like it because it's Nintendo. I like it because it's Star Wars. I like it because I don't know. I just like it, and I don't feel that that's an adequate answer. I like to know why. What is good about it if you like it? What is bad about it if you don't like it?
I think there's certain things that you watch and that like it hits you in the feels. I always
Yeah.
say it's like there's a couple different things. And this is another topic that I'm not going to get into, but let's say when if you're into sports and you bring up a name and you go Hall of Famer or not Hall of Famer, it's
Oh
pretty
yeah.
immediately. It's pretty
Yeah.
immediate. You don't have to sit and think about it for 4 years. If they weren't
Right.
a Hall of Famer the first time, 4 years later, why are they a Hall of Famer?
Right.
So it's something you feel. It's something you know.
Yeah.
So my thing is yes, I do. I will come strong. I probably know that there are times where my opinion, if I'm kind of talking, especially on a stream, that it may seem like, hey, you need to feel this way. You need to act this way. Thank you,
I
Zelda.
I love
Um,
that alert. I love it.
but somebody found a secret. But so I understand that, right? And I get that. But at the end of the day, yeah, man, it's like, look, this is how I feel about it. If I really enjoy something, then I'm gonna feel it. And if I'm sitting there watching it and I'm like, okay, come on now, then I'm gonna talk about it. But it doesn't
Yeah.
mean that I go into everything hating
Right.
everything. And I know you
Yeah.
don't do that either because there's things we really love, and there's
Yeah.
things we love that are nonsensical, like me loving the Fallout TV show, which I've referenced before. There's other stuff I know that you love that for me, I'm like, I don't see it, but okay,
Yeah.
whatever.
There's
It
definitely some stuff that I
is what
love
it is.
that I know that it's not good, but I love it. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah.
just
It's
that's just
just,
that.
how you feel. So, hey, look, and if somebody said, hey, you know what, I like it just because I like it, you know
Yeah.
what? If that's how you feel,
That
that's fine with me. I
yeah.
really, it's fine, and that's okay. But I didn't start this channel to not give my opinions. And I
Yeah.
didn't start this channel to not bring opinions that I believe in
Yep.
and are strong. I don't want to waver. I don't want to sit on a fence. I'll tell you what I think. And
Yep.
and that's the
Eh,
way it is.
Darren, and I'll say I loved Disney until about 2003 or 4. And then Disney started making product that wasn't the same quality and it was noticeable. And then they started putting messages in there that were inappropriate for children. And then I just said no.
Yeah, it's interesting, and it's a rabbit hole we could go down. And I didn't want to start out the show going down that rabbit hole, but I did just want to say, look, man, like it. I enjoy watching stuff. I love superhero movies. I was paying money to go to every Marvel movie that was coming out from
Yeah.
2012 to or whatever.
Yep.
And so I want it to be good. I really want it to be good. But if I'm disappointed, I'm disappointed, and that's I can't do anything about that, you know. But
Yep.
I will express it. So, but anyway, I'm glad you guys are here. Glad you're hanging out. Uh, and I know we'll add a few more people cruising in as we get along, as there are other streams, I'm sure. Excuse me, sure going on. Damn that Red Bull. So, without further ado, let's jump into it, man, because we got a few people here at least ready. Triple D's Dungeon, what is up? What is up? Pop Blender and Matthew Madsen. Menjoza in the house. Good to see you, buddy. Johnny Reno. I wish I could. Oh, never mind. No, you told me what it was. Those are the glasses. Yes. Yep. Hello. Cheers, Johnny Reno. That's right. They look like broken pictures on the screen, but I know what they are now. And cheers to you, my friend. Let's see here. Dreadnought K6 said he was here first but didn't chat. You don't always have to, brother, but it is all good. And for the record, the record has been noted, my friend. 3-star draw is also in the house. Fist bump to you. And then Menjoza says, but if I think a show or a movie is good or not good, I will be able to say my piece without being called a hater. Unfortunately, these days, no matter what it is, actually, there we go. No matter what it is, if you do maybe go against the grain, which I don't think I'm going against the grain with Thunderbolts or maybe some other shows. I think it's pretty widespread opinion. But yeah, if you're not, you know, with the current tide, then yeah, you may be called a hater, and I guess that's okay if that's how it is. Joe Fan 84 is in the house as well. Yeah, only if it's Disney. I love picking on Disney because Disney has gone out of their way to make some very terrible choices.
Disney's gone out of their way to antagonize the people that pay the money
Correct.
to see their product.
And it doesn't mean that I can't enjoy things that they make, such as Andor season 1 and season 2. Even though I can recognize the flaws in both, it doesn't mean I'm not enjoying it. I think it's the best thing they've put out as far as Star Wars is concerned. And I'm with you, Menjoza. Like, you know, always speak your mind, never let the crowd control your honest opinion. And I think ultimately at the end of the day, anybody that's going to go on YouTube or social media, you are expressing yourself, and whether that be good or bad, whether people agree with you or not. And that's just how it is. And you got to expect that, right? Like expect a little pushback, a little bit of little ribbing here and there. I got a little ribbing last night. It's all good.
Dreadnought K6. You know, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, it's and I've got a little video that was on X today of Sebastian Stan. I'm going to play that here in a little while when we get to the Thunderbolts asterisk. Tony's Figs is in the house, baby.
Tony?
What's up, Tony? Just hitting maybe sundown or close to sundown on the West Coast, working your way there.
Well, he's still in the wagon, bud. He's still hanging out. He's still working. Or are you working all night?
I hope you're not working all night.
He does sometimes, so you never know.
I hope you're not. Yeah, Werewolf by Night too.
Menjoza, I liked Werewolf by Night, but I was also extremely disappointed in Werewolf by Night. I thought that was a good one. I wish that they had used Werewolf by Night in the Moon Knight show and done a proper Moon Knight introduction, but
right.
There's a lot of things with that. But if you do watch the Werewolf by Night special, watch the black and white version. The color version doesn't work.
Yep. Yeah, my Snow White fan page. I am the president, folks. I've been collecting all the memes so I can report all you haters out there that are making these AI memes of Rachel Zegler, my love of my life.
Darren, God bless you. Keep sending those to me, and they're funny as all get out. I love them. But yeah, I've seen them too.
24-hour bros. Holy.
Yeah. Man. Yep. I thought so.
Man, Jesus,
on the meat wagon for 24.
That is much respect, brother. Much respect. Definitely. That's for sure. That's a hell of a shift, my friend. So look, man, as every week, as we always get into little current box office before we get into our topics usually try to jump into a little box office. And Matthew, I've got a couple of them pulled up. And the reason I have a couple of them pulled up, and I'll tell you why, is because the numbers, which is the site I always go to, doesn't really let you. It's hard sometimes to configure the data on it. It's hard to even really see exactly what you want to see. So I had a couple. Now, I'm not a big fan of Box Office Mojo myself. I know you're not. But
Not
I went ahead
anymore.
and pulled up the daily domestic for Monday, May 5th, from the numbers. And I added a couple tabs to it, such as production budget, which is pretty important.
Yep.
Now, unfortunately, the numbers doesn't allow you to look at worldwide totals, so you have to actually click on it. So obviously coming in hot as Thunderbolts. It's been out for 4 days, at least as of, yesterday. $180 million production budget. It shows you the domestic total, which is 79 mil. But if we click on it, it's earned $165 million worldwide. So it's on its way to hitting that production budget, but that doesn't mean anything, right? The drop off day by day, if you actually look at the chart for Thunderbolts, if you go down and look at your daily box office performance, the preview night, May 1st, 11 mil, 31 mil next day, 24, 17. The drop off is 22%, 28%, and then 72% on Monday. Yes, Cinco de Mayo. I get it, right? People are doing other things. The tail of the tape, Matthew, is going to be weekend number 2.
Yep, it's always number 2. Number two sets the pace.
And we'll know if this movie has legs, and you'll know by the end of the stream what I think about it. Even though I talked about it Sunday night, I have some more points about it I want to bring. Sinners has made 182 million domestically, 240 million worldwide. And that movie is absolutely crushing it on a $90 million budget. I think it's going to make a little money.
Yep.
I think it's going to make some money for Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's doing really well. And from all accounts I've heard, haven't seen it, but from all accounts I've heard, it is absolutely fantastic. And needs to be seen. It's got some really.
Oh, I've heard some harsh criticism of it, but for the most part, people like it. They like it quite a bit. So.
I've heard a few things, but overall, from a performance and a cinematography aspect, from a beautiful movie. From a beautiful movie. Okay. The Accountant 2, John Bernthal, Ben Affleck, 41 mil domestic. You're looking at 67 international, and on a $80 million budget is might be it's gonna be tough. Minecraft movie still crushing it, still making money. $150 million budget, 400 million domestic, and if we look at its total, 875 worldwide. So pretty good haul for the Minecraft movie. Probably gonna spawn a sequel if I had to guess. If I had to guess, definitely gonna spawn a sequel. I did want to say hello too, as my chat freaking moves on me. Woody Triple Deuce says most people who want to see Thunderbolts have already seen it. I agree. If you don't want me to spoil anything, or Matthew to spoil anything, let us know. And if you want it to be spoiler light, like a little bit, let us know. We got a little bit of time to get to it. So yeah, anyway, that's kind of where we sit. I mean, Until Dawn, The Amateur, King of Kings, which is an animated Angel Studios religious movie, Pride and Prejudice, which is Focus Features reissue of that, like they did with not Focus or whatever, but like they did with Revenge of the Sith, which I want to talk to you about. I want to have a little discussion about Revenge of the Sith. Not a big deep dive, but a little bit of discussion, and get some of you guys' opinions in the chat too about it and how you feel about that movie. But that's kind of where we sit. Disney's Snow White, $269 million budget, and I've got a little bit of a story to bring up about Snow White here in just a few minutes. $269 million budget. It has only done 201 million worldwide. That is going to be an absolute disaster for Disney, and unfortunately is going to eat into some profit, which we'll get into here momentarily.
Yep.
So
Menjoza there. Just The Accountant 2 is not really a comedy. It's worth checking out. The first one was pretty darn good. The second one is an adequate sequel. It brings the characters forward and moves things along. So, if you're interested, if you've seen the first one, I would definitely watch the second one.
I mean, it's look, John Bernthal will get some run from the Punisher fans, the Daredevil / Punisher fans who were like, "Hey, man, I really like this guy," and we'll go see it because of him, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, how many people is that, and how strong of a base is that? But yeah, I mean, and we don't need to go through the top 10 because really the severe drop off of it. It doesn't surprise me, obviously, with maybe Thunderbolts starting out with a decent take, but honestly, this is like is it the third lowest MCU opening?
Okay,
I think the Marvels adjusted for inflation.
If you adjust it for inflation, it's the worst.
Okay. Adjusted for inflation.
Because the only other ones that had worse openings or worse times are far better than that if you adjust for inflation. And when they came out in 2008, 2012.
Yeah. Whether you like it or not, the numbers don't lie, folks. Like, that's one thing I always say is that, if you liked it, you didn't like it, whatever, you look at the numbers and it gives you an idea what people are feeling,
Right. But you have to frame the numbers correctly, right? Because the amount of money it's making today is actually like half or less the number of people who actually saw it.
Right, and ticket prices are higher now than they used to be, right? Yeah.
So. Ticket prices are 2 to 3 times as much. So the people who actually saw it are 2 to 3 times less than what it was before. So even though the numbers monetarily seem higher.
And say hey to Viper Scout sliding in here driving home. Thanks for having us on during the drive home, my friend. I definitely do that often. Listen to a stream on my way in, and if I hit a red light, I'll try to chat something real quick, and then take off, or I'll have to speak it out, Yeah, it's interesting because with the ticket, it's such a misguided way to maybe look at things and not taking that into account. Ticket prices are so much higher. So what I would rather do is what they do, I think, in Europe, or what they do in France, is that they do tickets sold.
Mm-hmm.
Tickets sold. I would prefer that method rather than actual money. But Hollywood definitely loves the smoke and mirrors part of it.
Of course, they're all about smoke and mirrors. They're all about obfuscation. Yes.
And Mendoza says, so just a bad trailer for The Accountant 2. Was that maybe it?
Maybe.
I don't know. The trailer I saw was fine. It's not a movie that interests me personally. But that's also like something like Knives Out or
oh God, yeah.
Just any I don't know. Hard to describe, I guess, off the cuff. But it didn't really interest me. The first one didn't really as well. But I've heard fine things about the first one and the second one. I mean, really, I just don't know if I'll ever get around to watching it, to be quite honest with you.
I wanted to see the first one and totally forgot about it. And then I said, well, there's a sequel? Okay. I guess I kind of want to see that too.
Okay, so
and
I
still haven't seen it.
It caught me that way too. Okay, so Revenge of the Sith, Star Wars Episode 3, falls short of its $1 billion goal after re-release for 1 week and 1 week only for the 20th anniversary. They were hoping it would hit $1 billion as a film overall. Back, it was a huge grossing film even in 2005, obviously, but it wasn't what we expect now with these blockbusters, $1 billion blockbusters.
Well, I mean, one, you got to adjust for inflation, so there's that kind of fallacy that's in there, and two, if you kept it in for longer than a week, it probably could have made it.
See, that's my thing. I'm like, a week only. To me, if you're Disney, I still understand this philosophy recently with.
Come on now, yes, you do. You know what it's about.
Well, I know why.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
But it doesn't work.
Right.
So if you're wanting people to sign up for your service by pushing your movie to Disney Plus or Max or whatever the fuck it is, it's not working. It only works for Netflix, and Netflix ain't shoving movies in theaters.
Right.
Rarely. So
well, they are now.
I know I said rarely, but Revenge of the Sith. I want to talk to you about this film because I haven't had a chance to really talk to you about it. Do you? This is my favorite of the prequels. It's my favorite of the prequels because I think it's overall the best movie. I know the dialogue is rough in parts, but I find the Anakin Skywalker arc at least better than in Attack of the Clones as an adult or as a kid. Yeah, I think Attack of the Clones is I think it's awful. My cousin disagrees. So it is his favorite, and that's fine.
No,
but my point is like I do like this movie. Phantom Menace. I'm sorry, it's difficult to get through for me without cutting it off. So how do you feel about Revenge of the Sith? What do you like? What do you not like about this film? Because I've never talked to you about it.
Let's just briefly the prequels. Yeah, the first one's tough to get through. There's some important things that happen in there, but it's really tough to get through. The second one, if you skip every scene where Padme and Anakin interact, it's a pretty darn good movie. There's a lot of good stuff in there with Jango and the Jedi and
Yoda fighting for the first time. Right?
Yeah, but any scene that Anakin and Padme in together is so cringe. It's so childish dialogue writing. It's nails on chalkboard grading.
Right.
Okay, and then you get to Revenge of the Sith, and you know, when it came out, I thought it was okay, and really, the only thing that hurts it for me is the no.
It's so God.
And then in the special edition versions or the home release of it, he made it even worse because he put an extra little thing in there, and I'm like, what are you doing? Just leave it alone. Just cut it out. But the rest of the movie is better than Return of the Jedi. Yeah, I said it. Okay.
Oh man, dude, you're about. Some people are gonna be trying to dox you, dude.
Okay. I bet you there are, but I honestly, the scripting, the pacing, the storytelling elements that are in Revenge of the Sith, especially from the novelization. The novelization is a masterpiece, but the movie itself is one of my favorites in Star Wars, and so it's number 2 or number 3 for me, and it goes back and forth. A New Hope, Star Wars, kind of comes and goes in that second spot for me. But
right, Rise of Skywalker, I'm sure is there in your list.
There's no such movie named Rise of Skywalker. It's Rise of Palpatine.
It's like Kingdom of the Crystal Skulls or Dial of Dysentery.
Yeah,
it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. Yeah, what's his name on that Circle show with the bald guys was getting my goat because whatever. I'm like, he clearly doesn't know Star Wars, and he's spouting like he knows something that he doesn't know. He kept going on and saying Palpatine created Anakin. I said no, Plagueis did, and Palpatine found it and took advantage of it. He almost destroyed it, but then he said, "Oh wait, I can use this and manipulate it," and that's what he did. He took what Plagueis created with the manifestation in the Force. So Palpatine did not do that. So anyway.
It's I just hate when people speak on stuff they don't know. No, I'm kidding.
I like ribbing people about it. It's
for sure. Christopher Lee as Count Dooku, absolutely. I love it. I love the scene on the Invisible Hand where Dooku is shocked. He is shocked because the plan was for him to fight Obi-Wan and Anakin, but the plan was not for him to die.
Yeah.
And so you see that scene. Now, in the novelization, it's laid out much better. It actually takes you into Dooku's frame of mind, which we don't really get in the movie. But his frame of mind is like, it's not just that he's dying, it's that he has had his hands cut off. This all went not according to the plan that he was understood, but his hands are cut off, and then he realizes he was used, and Anakin is going to be used just the same way that Dooku got used by Palpatine.
Right, but he knew that this was the final test for Anakin.
Yes, this was the Emperor. Yes. Yeah. Anakin was supposed to basically, and so Dooku's plan was to start the Jedi anew, but not under the Jedi order, so to speak, as in a new order. And Anakin was going to be the Emperor's kind of war hero. That was the whole idea about it, and his front-facing person.
Right.
And then obviously those plans changed quickly.
Well, and that was because they had lost Grievous, right?
And the plans for Grievous.
They lost Grievous, and so now it's kind of like, okay, we need a replacement general, right? Or Grievous had been failing so much that he was out anyway.
Unfortunately, the Clone Wars animated series, kind of made a fool out of Grievous because he literally seemed like an incompetent idiot and he always lost. But we only meet him in Revenge of the Sith, which of course, hey, that's great. But nonetheless, I think as a movie, yes, it has some bad dialogue. I still think the Padme Anakin scenes are rough.
But they're so much better than Attack of the Clones ones.
It much better. And the scene at the opera or the special show where we get the story of Darth Plagueis.
Yeah.
That's a wonderful scene. Amazing scene right there. I love, with Obi-Wan and Anakin. Yeah, that fight goes on a really long time, but it's something that people had wanted to see for really, forever.
Forever. Yeah.
And so, yeah, just as a film out of the prequels, I think it's the best one. Still has its flaws.
Yeah.
But I'd never really asked you what you thought of it, especially the prequels. I do remember a time, folks, you guys do too, the prequels were not well loved.
No. And honestly, when they came out, I was not a big fan. I mean, I saw them all in theaters. I know I did, but I only really remember going to see episode 1 in the theater because it was such a big deal. And then I remember coming out of it going, what the hell was that?
Right. I mean, I came out of almost really all of them doing that because I was, and I know emotions from Revenge of the Sith. When I left the theater, I was like, well, hell yeah, at least we got to see, this turn and everything. But unfortunately, the prior 2 movies did not set up the third one so well. And so, yeah, I remember it was very disappointing. Now we're looking back on them with rose-colored glasses.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. But I also remember at the time, it was the Genndy Tartakovsky's Clone Wars series. And then there was a Clone Wars comic book that was out around the same time. And I was consuming all that stuff. I was waiting for Quillen Voss to show up. I was waiting for all the stuff to happen that didn't happen.
Yeah.
And I was super excited to see this kind of transition thing. And the Genndy Tartakovsky Clone Wars really does fill in that gap between episode 2 and 3 the best out of all the media that's out there.
It does.
And it makes things look good,
It was rendered non-canon.
Yeah,
and
I know.
Then when the Clone Wars series came out, it messed up that whole timeline.
Well, that's why it was rendered non-canon. But
then even Mace Windu, with the armor on Grievous, and he's the one that causes him to have that cough. Yeah. That was also changed from that Tartakovsky cartoon.
Well, but then people started doing edits and they spliced the Tartakovsky stuff in with the Clone Wars animated series, and they said, you can actually work it together because there's some big leaps of logic that people make and try to justify it to themselves. And that's great. I love it. I love that you want to include it all in there.
It's either way, I think we would all agree, and based off of our May the Power of the Force 2 or season 2 or whatever, obviously there was plenty of toys, and that is without a doubt probably the last great toy, you know, not flooding, but because it was, but like that's really the last movement for action figures in that way, right?
Yeah.
Like if we think about it, it there was some great toys that came out of it. Each movie had its own figures, just like the prior ones. And since then, I mean, it's just not really been the same when it
Yeah.
comes to movies, when it comes to Star Wars, even and whatever. So, that was there's a lot of toys that came out of that whole thing, man.
And it took them forever to make a Jodo Cast figure, and I could never figure that out. But do you even know who Jodo Cast is?
Hell, jog my memory because I
So
remember I remember reading this or hearing it, but I
yeah,
can't.
so he was in the Star Wars Galaxy magazine. It was a little comic book. He was in a little. He had a little comic book thing that went on, and he was a bounty hunter who seemed to be impersonating Boba Fett. And
Okay.
it was a bounty hunter named Jodo Cast, and he had slightly different armor than Boba did. And then Boba hunted him down and killed him. But it was just a story about him going around using Boba Fett's reputation and trying to get work.
I mean, I like that. I like
Right?
that. So Three Star has a few thoughts on this. As I remember seeing it in the theater for the first time and thinking, what if he screams, no? And by God, they did it.
I will tell you, Darren, I
Oh,
had that exact same thing because I'm thinking, are they going to go full Frankenstein on this? Is he
they
just going to scream?
did.
And I'm like, oh, they did it. No. And I was
They
screaming no in my heart.
they did. And Johnny Reno, yeah. So obviously that story then, Johnny.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Also, Three Star says the prequels weren't well loved until we got the sequels. I agree because the
Yeah.
sequels were so bad that now we look back with rose-colored glasses
Yeah.
on the prequels and we go, well, you know what? Actually, maybe they weren't as bad as we thought
Yeah.
when we got the sequel trilogy,
So
right?
you're saying that everybody looks back at them in a Darth Vader, Star Wars, non-special edition colored glasses. You could say,
Right. And yet, Three Star, Grievous was over the top cool, but I will say this, like,
I like this design for sure.
the design was awesome. Obviously his fight near the end of Revenge of the Sith and where he's scattering around on all fours. It's super cool. I guess the thing is though is that like he didn't get enough screen time, as in he didn't get enough screen time for us to really get a backstory or understand.
Right.
All we got was a crawl, and it
Yeah.
tells us this guy, and then that's basically it, right?
Yeah.
We didn't get to see. We were told rather than shown.
Right.
And that's the shame of it, is that the second movie should have given us some of the Clone Wars battles and that history, and instead it didn't start until the very end and the Battle of
Yeah.
Geonosia, right?
Well,
So
it does kind of stink that we went from Attack of the Clones, the Clone Wars begins, to the Clone Wars is over.
it's over, right? And so, in a way, I'm glad that we got the Clone Wars series because
Yeah.
I do like it. I really do.
Yeah.
I really enjoy it. I'm glad we got it to fill in some of those blanks. However, it also really messed with at that time, which was still the EU that was
Yeah.
established canon. It actually really messed with that. And then, of course, when Disney purchased it, it all went to hell.
Well,
So,
so I mean, the EU canon that they were using before was all over the place, and they didn't really touch
yes.
the Clone Wars era until Dark Horse Comics did a whole run on it, and that run is phenomenal with Quill and Voss and double agents and spies, and it was awesome. And then they just kind of tossed that all in the garbage and kept going.
Right. So Dreadnought, I'm gonna say that yeah, probably so. Considering the bottom half of his body was down there closest to the lava, I would say it probably so. I mean, it is what it is, right? Like, shitty situation to say the least. Uh, so I wanted
That's
to
why
bring
his
this.
Schwartz was bigger than everybody else's.
My Schwartz is bigger than your Schwartz. All right. Merchandising.
Merchandising.
So, so I want to bring this up with you because we talked about Snow White for a few weeks, and really there's not much to say about it. It did not do well. However, I did want to bring this up because there was a That Park Place article. I did not want to become a VIP member, so I wanted to bring this up because this is kind of a bullet point. This is kind of just a breakdown. So basically, you guys know that Deadpool versus Wolverine absolutely crushed it, right? Crushed it at the theaters. Um, it was a huge success, and conversely, Snow White was a huge disaster. So, looking at the numbers and kind of a conclusion that we can put to that is that if we look at the production budget for Snow White at $270 million, okay, and you look at let's say you add your marketing costs at 100 million, so 370 basically. So theaters basically return 50% or less of their ticket prices to the movie makers, right? So basically, if you go through these numbers, all right, so we take the above cost, multiply that by two, and you get 738 million. That's what Snow White needed to make to break even at the box office. Well, it only did 200 million worldwide. All right, so it was $369 million in the hole.
Yeah.
Okay, so it says leaving Disney in the hole for 269. Okay, so 269, right? So Disney only gets half of that extra 100 million. So 269 in the hole. Wolverine Deadpool did $1,338,000,000. All right. So divide it by two, that's about 669 was Disney's actual take after production cost and whatnot. So if you look at total expenses, about 580 million. All right, with residuals, interest, overhead, all that kind of stuff. So if you look at what Snow White did to the profits from Deadpool and Wolverine,
Yep.
you find out that it erases the profits that they made from Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yep.
And puts them back into the hole, which is crazy to me. When you think about a movie that made $1.3 billion, having a movie that only made 200 million but cost you 269, 369 to make.
Yeah.
That's how costly that these bombs are for a company like Disney, who can't get away from them, right?
Yep.
Can't get away from them. And so if you really go down this page, and this guy he even gives it to you, kind of kills you with math, so to speak. Okay. But you basically have to kind of add up your numbers, subtract what Snow White lost. But it shows you that, like, these giant budgets on films,
it's ridiculous. They can't do it anymore.
You can't do this anymore and expect to make money, even when you have a $1 billion movie.
Yep.
When you're spending 270 million to make it, plus all the things to advertise for it for another 100 or more.
Yeah.
These big budget movies, they're going to have to change. And there's another reason they're going to have to change that we're going to get into here in just a second.
Yeah, this is, Chris Gore's been talking about this for a long time, is the mainstream for the movies, the things that make them the most money are these movies that cost $50 million to make. They cost under $100 million to make. because they can toss those out like nothing. And if they're successful, they're going to make $500 million at the box office, and that's a huge profit percentage wise for that movie. They're gonna, if they make 800 million, oh man, that's even more of a profit. They don't have to be billion-dollar movies, and so your profit margin is, your gateway to get profit is so much lower, and the percentage is so much higher, that why would you not focus on making those independent films, those other films that will draw people into the audience in the theaters again to watch? Because it's not a spectacle. Everybody wants the spectacle.
It's unfortunately, at this point, we've been trained that's the only thing that brings people to the theater is the spectacle.
Right.
And when every Marvel movie was breaking $1 billion, then that was fine.
Right.
Even Captain Marvel, sandwiched between Infinity War and Endgame, they made it seem like you had to go see Captain Marvel, which made it go over $1 billion when it was a shit film.
And people were all for that when they were going to the theater.
They were
to see
fine
movies.
with it.
They're fine. But now we've got 1 billion different TV series that we have to watch on top of the 26 other movies, on top of the 10 crappy ones, and then whatever else, right? You've got all this baggage now that makes that barrier to entry so very high. And then you get into the same problem that comic books had, which is why they rebooted the universe so frequently, created alternate timelines, and did all that nonsense in the comic books.
For the shock value, to big events.
To bring in new readers, to bring in new viewers, right?
So, right.
And we're going to see it in the movies now too, because it's already been done.
Yes. Now, talking about the big blockbusters, talking about making the movies, here's the other thing that happened recently. You guys may have heard about this. You might not have heard about it. I know some of you are going to hate this or not hate this. You don't care. However, President Trump says he's going to put 100% tariffs on films produced outside of the United States. Now, you and I both know that all these companies, production companies, movies, going over to the UK and other places because they get huge tax breaks. Right? Now, the good thing about them going overseas is we get to see all the exact numbers. So if you are interested, you can actually see
if they make it in the UK. Not every country has
that. No, you're right. Make it in the UK. But putting 100% tariff on films produced outside the United States, which is Trump saying, hey, let's make the movies here. Let's employ people here in the States. Let's hire all the below the line people to put the sets together, blah, 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 right? Hold the microphones and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So this has caused a lot of ripples, right? In Hollywood. This is everybody's freaking out because these companies have been able to take advantage of these breaks, especially in England.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the tax breaks they get in England have saved Warner and Disney a lot of money because they can write off so much more with that. And you call it a loophole, call it whatever you want. The industry in this country is broken from stem to stern. And it's not just Hollywood, it's our manufacturing, it's everything.
Right.
And these tariffs are meant to try and correct that, but you can't just spring up overnight all these things. The problems here in the United States stem from, quite frankly, unions. Unions pushed all of the production outside of the United States because it becomes impossible to make a movie in the United States with all of those restrictions that you have. That's why people moved out of California and started making it in Atlanta, in Texas, in Toronto, in other places around the country and then around the world. And I don't know. With film, you want to be able to shoot in exotic locations. So now are films being prohibited from shooting in exotic locations? This brings up a lot of questions.
It does. I agree.
About, so you're saying we need to fake everything instead of actually going to places and seeing them for real?
Let's not kid ourselves. All right. Like,
I understand.
Location shooting is definitely been on the decline for a long time.
Well, okay. But then you watch it. You watch a Mission Impossible movie. Go watch some of these other movies. They go to these places to shoot.
I'm not saying they don't, but we also know the volume is one of those things that gets used. We know that there are studios that have been built or being built, like Tyler Perry's studio down in Georgia, I believe, that has a huge not virtual reality, but like has a lot of AI components and volume components and stuff like that. Yeah, I think it's interesting. I get the spirit of what he's trying to do.
In this instance, I don't think it works because it's not going to force production back to the United States on this one.
What it did force, however, is Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, to introduce a plan to give a whole bunch of subsidies and tax breaks for productions filming in California.
So we're taking off the tax break, we're taking away the taxes that we already put on you, so the state could take all the money that Hollywood makes, and we're actually going to let you keep more of that money that you already made. So we're going to be a little less communist.
Right. Yeah. It's interesting, and the reason I brought it up is because we know that Hollywood has been losing a lot of productions to other states. Other countries. So trying to come up with ideas or reason to bring those things back, to bring them back to the States, or in Hollywood's case with Gavin Newsom, trying to bring them back into California, right? I mean, it's their fault in the first place.
Yep.
But then Gavin Newsom's going to swoop in like the hero, right? And say, no, we're looking out for you. Unfortunately, I think the industry itself is in such a place, I don't think it's going to make a difference.
No, it really can't, because so much of the production's moved out of Hollywood. It's going to be real hard to bring it back because it's already cheaper to film in Georgia or Texas.
Yeah, man.
And this whole thing is going to maybe push some people out of Vancouver. I don't know. Right. Is it going to push them out of the UK? I doubt it. The tax breaks are too good.
Now, there is, I kind of brought something up here, and I'll share this tab instead, which brings up some valid, questions. I think that's definitely worth talking about. And it's 7 major questions about this. Now, really quick, Mr. Magus is here, and as soon as Mr. Magus came in, he left. G.I. Jetman is here. Good to see you, G.I. Jetman. Viper Scout, you highlighted that, so fire away.
Yeah, it reminds me of the Simpsons episode where they filmed Radioactive Man in Springfield, and the mayor basically robbed the whole production. Jesus. Yeah, well, I mean, that's what they do in California, is that they make sure that their local governments or their areas get most of the profits for movies being filmed there as much as they can. And they try to take it from all of the film companies, right? So
just to throw out a baseline here real quick, and I'm going to star that comment by Dreadnought K6 before we get to it. So just to roll down this article. Okay, President Trump announced a plan on Sunday night to slap a 100% tariff on foreign produced films. All right, and it says starting with what, right? So it says nobody in Hollywood is asking for a tariff on foreign made films. Right. So we're kind of getting the back and forth. Okay. Number one, will he do that? He said he said he was only authorizing the U.S. Trade Representative and Commerce Department to impose the tariff. Didn't say he would do it.
Well, okay? They're also investigating whether he can do it.
Yes, that's true. Right. Can he do that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. So it says here, for previous tariffs, Trump has claimed authority under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. It says the president has invoked the act on the theory that trade imbalances are a national emergency. It says, but in his on Sunday night, he argued that a runaway production is a national security threat.
Wait, hold on, time out a second. Isn't this the plot of episode 3, Revenge of the Sith?
It is. It is. It is. Oh my God. It says, how would he do that? Films are intellectual property, and unlike goods, they have not been subject to tariffs.
That's right.
It says the movie-making process is also highly internationalized, with some films shot partly in the U.S., partly overseas. Editing might take place in the U.S. or Canada, so that's a challenge. When would he do it? says Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning opens on May 23rd. It was primarily filmed in England. Is it subject to a tariff? Is it grandfathered in? Right?
Yeah.
And then it says, what about TV? Is this only movies?
Right.
Is this television? And then and then it says, who wants this? It says, not Hollywood. Theater business is struggling to return to pre-pandemic levels. Well, make good fucking movies. The last thing it needs is a new tax on movie tickets. Well, lower the prices on movie tickets.
Look, I mean, I don't think he can do it. I don't think he should. I
don't either. I don't either.
Because this is a huge waste of time, because the industry's dead already. They killed themselves.
Yes.
And they're not coming back from it anytime soon. People aren't going to the theaters. The theaters are shutting down left and right. I mean, you're having to use other money, other state money, our money, to prop up these theaters to keep the doors open. And ticket prices are too high. The movies aren't good. People are waiting to streaming because 6 months, 2 months, 2 months later, 2 weeks later, it's coming out on streaming, right?
Exactly.
And so people are just waiting, and then they're going to forget about the ones that they wanted to see in the movie theater that they didn't. And it's the whole streaming thing. This whole thing is just a big mess, and something has to change to shake things up, and somebody has to come up with an idea of how to fix it. And it's just we're not there yet.
Yeah. And this isn't the idea. I get the spirit of what I guess is trying to be accomplished here, but this is not how you get it done. It just isn't. And I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think that it really will. I just can't imagine that, but we'll see. I did want to bring it up because I want to get your opinion on it, for one. Yeah. And it is newsworthy, and especially in this space. I mean, it is worth talking about, I mean, people say, oh, it's cuckoo crazy, whatever. And I agree. I don't think this is the way to go about it. But like I said, I do understand the spirit of it. So Dreadnought K6 says, Matthew Madsen, if Hollywood was making halfway decent stuff, I might care, but they don't. And now we prop up average movies like Wolverine and Deadpool, and the Thunderbolts as okay to decent.
Yeah, our expectations have been lowered so much, and that's part of the game too, right? They're trying to lower expectations. And so you just get excited about stuff that's not good.
Right. And he continued that is in that, because we've had so much bullshit, like Eddie Murphy once said, a cracker will sound like a feast to a starving man. And that is that's very true, man. When you have enough crap out there.
Yeah.
And then once in a while, you kind of get something dangled in front of you that's all right. We act as if, well, not we, the mainstream media, like, for instance, the Thunderbolts.
Greatest movie ever.
Tackling mental health. The Thunderbolts, it says so much about mental health. But yeah, Dreadnought is right. And I think something that's not that great will get highlighted as something that's amazing, when in reality it's really not. Viper Scout, cheap comedies, I'm with you, man. Like, whether, even if it's a rom-com, but like some of those just goofy comedies.
Well, so here's the thing, you can't make a joke anymore.
Then that's exactly right. You can't.
You can't make a comedy.
Johnny Reno says it. Yeah, Johnny Reno says it exactly, and that's the problem. If you're worried about offending anyone, then you're worried about offending everyone.
Let's go back and think about all of the great comedians, right? And whether you liked him or not, some of the most notable ones, you got Andrew Dice Clay. I mean, come on, he was one of the most controversial people of his time.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh,
you've got George Carlin, right? George Carlin was not a guy who was going in there being nice to everybody.
Yes.
Right. And you've got Eddie Murphy, you've got Chris Rock, you've got all these amazing comedians, and they were good because they challenged people and they offended people and they got on people's nerves. You have to have a shtick. You have to have something that draws people in to, have that attention. Otherwise you're just the same as everybody else. And then it just becomes boring.
But I also think that like those things also challenge people to think and to kind of look at things from a different perspective, through a different lens, a lens such as comedy. If let's say you were a huge Marion Barry fan, and you lived in DC, and then Chris Rock comes out with his Marion Barry crack jokes, but you were a big Marion
It's the
Barry supporter,
funniest shit
but
ever.
you knew that shit was funny, and you're laughing at it. Then you would have to look at it from another lens, because you know
Yep.
what I mean. Like it makes you,
I
in a way, do that.
I lived in that town in that era. Man, it was so bad.
Let's go see the tree. Yeah, I'm
Whew.
with you, 3 star. Yeah, no, and so that's what I mean. Like, unfortunately, you're right, especially with comedy, and we won't derail too far off. But yeah, no, I think it's hard to make comedies now because companies are still afraid. They're disguising it more now. It's going to be disguised more now. You'll hear, oh no, we're going back to doing this and that, and we're not. But I'll believe it when I see it.
Right.
But
Yeah.
ultimately, I think a lot of companies are just still afraid and still hamstrung. And unfortunately, the reality is most of your public, you know, they're not offended. They are okay with, having the mirror put up to their face. But every day we're told that that's not the case. But unfortunately, I think uh, you know, we get told that, and then people just kind of accept it. Okay, well,
Yeah.
I can't change it, right? I can't change it.
Right.
So I guess that's just the way that it's gonna go. You're right.
Yeah.
And so yeah, but I look, I think it's an important topic. I don't, you know, I'm not telling anybody, hey, you need to think this way or that way when it comes to
Yeah.
Trump or whatever. But it's, look, we should be able to discuss Donald Trump
Yeah.
without having people decide to like cut the stream off. If I always tell people you can change the channel if you want to, but it doesn't mean that every topic is like that offensive. It's like there are certain things that are important that do need to be brought up.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I did want to share with you guys, I want you all to know, Whoopi Goldberg, she does disapprove of Trump's limiting movie tariffs. And you know what? I don't give a fuck.
Did she leave the country? Did she go somewhere else?
No, that's Rosie. That's
Well, I thought she was.
Rosie.
I thought she was
Rosie the
leaving.
robot. I mean, Rosie O'Donnell.
Yeah, I thought she. Yeah, I thought she was going somewhere too.
No, no, no. No, she didn't. Maybe she is, but she's still on The View, which
Well,
I
I
don't
was
know
gonna
how
say
anybody
she
still
threatened
watches
it,
that
but
shit.
weren't they going to move all the production to the UK so
Oh,
they could all leave the
God.
United States?
Yeah, he says y'all disagree with Trump. I screen recorded it. Yeah, by all means. Yeah, I think it's a
Do it,
dumb. I think
brother.
it's a dumb fucking move. I think it's
Yeah.
silly. I think it's super goofy, and it's not the way they're going to fix the industry. Unfortunately, the industry sold its soul to the tech industry,
Yeah.
and that's what did it, and
Yeah,
that's
for
a
sure.
shame. But look, make a short out of it. And I'm with you too. Whoopi and Rosie and Katy Perry can go to Mars. I'm with you, man.
Well,
Uh,
Katie is an astronaut, so
Katie is an astronaut. That's the wait a minute. Hey, I oh Lord. So so there's a Wall Street Journal article out, and I am not a VIP member. I did not subscribe to the Wall Street Journal. It's about $2 a week, Matthew, if you'd like to
Ooh.
subscribe for your first year. And then after that, it's $38.99 every 4 months. But I digress. I pulled the bullet points from this article. And I also know a bit about this article as well. This was
Yep.
a major article, and it's talking about Kevin Feige. And it's talking
Mm.
about how the MCU really fell apart in phases 4 and 5. And I think we would all agree, since Endgame, the movies have not been very good, as good, or they've been terrible.
There's only what three of them that have been even halfway decent, but
Guardians 3,
yep. Spider-Man: No Way Home, which
Spider-Man No Way
is not
Home.
a Disney movie; it's a Sony Disney movie.
Yes. I would have hard pressed to tell you the other one.
They,
Um,
well, Werewolf by Night or the Guardians Christmas special or whatever.
but
You can,
those not at major
yeah.
releases.
Did you hear the latest rumor?
I did not.
Kathleen Kennedy and Kevin Feige are just going to swap places.
Uh, right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a joke.
Yeah.
It's a joke.
Kevin Feige taking over Star Wars. So,
Kathleen Kennedy leaves Star Wars.
So there's some reasons. There's some reasons why. Yeah, shit. She needs to leave for her own good. So there's some reasons. Now, this Wall Street Journal article, I would love to read it. I did watch some streamers today that I know probably have enough money, or well enough money at this point, to have a subscription to the Wall Street Journal. But they went kind of point by point through this article, and then I found a bullet point of it today.
There you go.
And so really the downfall of the MCU up to this point, if you want to sum it up, you can, but basically let me go through a few of these things right here. Okay. So head of Marvel Studios told colleagues recently that watching all the comic book giants' new TV shows and films started to feel more like homework than entertainment. I think you could understand that too, right? If the Thunderbolts movie, you needed to see WandaVision, or you need to see
you see the Black Widow movie.
Falcon Winter Soldier.
Falcon Winter Soldier.
You see that. You need to see Black Widow. Absolutely.
You needed to see well, that's probably about it. Well, you need to see Captain America: Brave New World.
Yep, Captain America: Brave New World. But a lot of it revolves around like the TV shows, right? Which a lot of people haven't watched. Yeah. But in order to understand what's going on, then because they focused on Disney Plus, there's a lot of things that you needed to have seen. Like, for instance, you needed to see Ant-Man because of Ghost. You need to understand that story too. Who is this character? Yeah. And so there's a lot there, and so it became like homework.
But here's the thing: not one of the characters in Thunderbolts acts anything like the last time we saw them, because the last time we saw the White Widow or the new Black Widow was in the Hawkeye show, I believe.
Yes,
and she was a different character, and then when she's in this movie, she's a third version of the character.
Yes. And we'll get into that with Thunderbolts, but I just want to kind of give an overview of this right here. Okay. The entire MCU sucks right now. Hey, Johnny Reno, be careful now. If you type that in a chat, you might catch some heat for that. So moving forward, Marvel's only releasing 1 or 2 live action streaming series annually starting next year. That's good. They need to pull back. They need quality over quantity. Now, Kevin Feige has said that we need to make fewer TV shows and standalone stories that don't require prior knowledge. Yeah. So you don't have to sit there and do your homework. It understood that Captain America: Brave New World was a flop, and it was because of this that people needed to do their homework. They needed to watch Falcon and Winter Soldier, which plays into a lot of shit with Bucky, and then to understand even Bucky where he's at in Thunderbolts, you needed to see Captain America: Brave New World for that little cameo that he had.
Yeah,
right?
That little tiny thing. Yep.
So they need to bring back talent from the blockbusters. They needed this whole C-list stars, C-list characters isn't going to work. People don't want this. But one of the bigger things is that the employees talked about Marvel fatigue. They talked about it was a no new fans club, which nobody was hyped. Nobody's interested in anymore. And it said that people who worked at Marvel in the early 2020s said they couldn't get time with Kevin Feige because he was so busy launching Disney Plus and putting out all these TV shows that he was not fully invested in the movies. So employees would work on storylines, characters for a long time, and they couldn't get his attention. And then when they did get his attention and he gave them his thoughts, they'd have to scrap what they had written and come up with something new. So he was very stretched out. And that's why I think when you saw the main Marvel stuff that was successful, it's because it had his undivided attention. And when his attention got divided amongst these TV shows and all this other stuff, they started bringing in directors who had no talent or no talent in that particular
Well,
genre.
they've got no money left to pay anybody. So
that's right. So ultimately, they're trying to reset all of this. Kevin Feige now is devoted to mainly making this Doomsday, the Fantastic Four. The Thunderbolts was kind of the beginning of it. The resetting of the Marvel Cinematic Universe now is the Thunderbolts is the beginning of it. And when we get to that, I'll tell you what I think about that.
Yeah, well, so I mean, they're out of money. They're out of time. They've spent everything they have. It's going to be so hard to recover from any of this. It's not even funny because all they had to do was go back to the top selling comic books, top rated comic books of all time, and retell those stories. If you wanted to tell the Fantastic Four story, you tell the coming of Galactus, right? You tell that story exactly as it is in the comic book, and people will flock to it and they will love it because, one, the comic book fans want to see it. Two, it's a compelling story because it's been around since the 60s, right? So people love these stories already. So you already have a built-in fan base, and because it's quality material, you will grow the fan base because they're like, oh, let's check out this old stuff. But Disney doesn't make as much money on the old stuff because they have to pay royalties, or they should be paying royalties, but they don't because they don't pay anybody.
Yeah, it's I will say this. If they want to fix the MCU, which look, hey, here's the deal. You guys might like some of those films, right? You might like the Marvels, you might have liked Miss Marvel TV show, you might have liked Shang-Chi. I mean, whatever, that's fine. But the reality is most people didn't.
Yep.
Most people did not, and it showed by the numbers of those movies, and that they didn't make their money back. And the only one that really kind of did, I think, was Multiverse of Madness was somewhat successful, but I think people were misled by that film.
Yeah, and
by the trailers.
It actually was not profitable when you count in all the reshoots and the entire budget of what they did. G.I. Jetman, how is Disney out of money? I don't know. Maybe it's the $10 billion that they've lost over the last 6 years.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, because Disney Plus has been an abject failure. I'm going to start my coffee, so I'll be right back, okay?
Yeah, if you go back through the financials of Disney and you actually look at what's been reported and understand what hasn't been reported, then you realize that there was a point in time, and it was about 2021, 22. They had lost $4 billion. That number is now up to $8 billion, closer to $10 billion right now, right? That they have lost. Right. And this is just from the box office stuff, from the stuff we can look at with production costs and what they needed to make on those movies to make a profit, and how much money they've lost on all of these terrible movies. The things that they've scrapped, that they put into production, that they filmed, that was completely done, but then they ended up scrapping it. Right. Or things that they spent time writing it, and all they actually put all this money into it. And they've lost it. And not just the reshoots too. And we can go back to the parks. The numbers in the parks are down so much. They are freaking the F out. They have discounted everything for this summer because they know Epic Universe is going to kill them. Because Epic Universe is new, it's fresh, it's exciting, it's innovative, and Disney has nothing to compete with it.
It is crazy.
Disney as a whole has been losing money on the comic book front, and they're looking at selling it. They've been losing money on the movie front because their movies are bombing to hell and back. They're losing money on the parks because not as many people are going to the parks as were before because there's not a draw.
Yeah.
So Disney is bleeding. They are hemorrhaging money. They're losing stockholders. Their top stock shareholders have sold their shit and they've gotten out. Some of the biggest investors that they have gotten out of Disney because of what they're doing right now.
Yeah, it's on all fronts, they've taken hits, and let's not kid ourselves, a lot of that comes from, deciding to become an activist company.
Well,
pushing things that
when they decided to get involved in politics, that was a mistake.
When you get involved and you advocate for things that most people with families don't advocate for, or it's not their thing, it doesn't mean they're bad people. I try to make this point all the time. They're like, if you don't believe this, then you're a terrible person. And that's not true. But when you actively tell families you should believe in this, or you know, they're not with that. They're not okay with it. It's not part of their DNA.
Yeah.
And because of that, they'll actively withdraw. And so that is also part of it as well. It really is. And Dreadnought, I'm with you. I think, people in denial. I think what you get is you have a lot of these adult Disney fans now. Like, it's not just about like the kids and the family part of it. It's like, and Disney has actively tried to cater to these adult fans with no children.
Yep.
Which
doesn't grow your brand.
It doesn't grow your brand. You can't pay. It's not generational.
Nope. Not anymore.
People don't even understand that.
Well, people don't understand. Somebody was talking about it here, and Dreadnought K6. I know you know this, but people don't understand how movies are made. They leverage futures, and they get investors to come in and give them this money because they can get tax breaks on it. So it's a tax shelter to make a movie.
Right.
And that's what they paid Roger Corman for. And that's what Roger Corman was known for, is he would make these crappy ass movies for pennies because they could hold an IP for it. And if they put it out, they could maybe make a couple bucks on it, but it didn't matter because it's a tax write-off, right? So they do tax write-offs over this stuff. So we are paying for Disney to do anything that it's doing right now. Our taxpayer dollars are paying for Disney to stay alive, and Warner Brothers.
Yes. Now, is there stuff that they've been able to put out that people do enjoy, or that's getting good ratings?
Yes.
Absolutely. And I think they're going to move away. I think these steps that they're going to take, if this is true, and this article, look, Wall Street Journal, number one, you have to understand Wall Street Journal. This article is targeting stockholders. This article that's about Kevin Feige reinvesting his time back into making these movies quality again, making money again, right? Reducing budgets, making fewer things. Wall Street Journal is aimed at people with money. It's aimed at the people who invest. And so getting this message to their investors is extremely important.
Yes.
So
they need to make up some ground because, like I said, their investors are bailing on them.
100%. Clint Jorgensen's in the house. Says Disney stock is the same today as it was 10 years ago.
That's not good.
That's not good.
Healthy.
Right? It should be better. Right? It should be better.
And this is the way people play the stock market. They invest long term because they know long term there is always growth in the market.
Right.
If the stock is the same as it was 10 years ago, that's shit. This is why I dumped Intel forever ago, because Intel stayed the same for fucking 10 years. It never grew and it wasn't doing anything.
Right.
So I was like, well, we got to get rid of that because it's stale. It's dead.
Yeah, and Dreadnought, I mean, look, you bring up a great point with like the race swaps and things of that nature, especially with some of your classic films. Look, I think if they race swapped to Pocahontas, that would be jarring.
Right.
It would be absolutely right. People would be up in arms, so those are valid points. They absolutely are. And those are concerns people have had.
Well, but some of it is just whatever. Okay, they're doing that. Let's see if they can tell a good story. I want to know if they can tell a good story.
Absolutely.
I don't mind that stuff as long as they are true to the stories, right?
Right.
There's a whole other thing with the erasure of red-haired people too. So
you take this one before I bring up the next topic. I'm going to grab my coffee. I just had to start it.
All right, G.I. Jetman. Well, I don't listen to the critics, idiot fanboys, online investors, except for Dark World and the Marvels. The movies were decent. I don't care about the money it takes. I'm a fan and I binge watch it. Okay. That's fine. That's the way most people are. That's the way most people live their lives. I dive into the nitty gritty. I have to know the whys. It's what I read research papers all day so I can do my job better. So I can bring the latest stuff to my patients. So I'm always invested in the why things work or don't work and what percentage is placebo, right? And so I have to get into that stuff. And so I do it with everything. It's the way my mind works. and I have to know why and where it comes from and all that stuff. So when I see stuff like this, if you like it, that's great. Like it. I'm not saying don't like it. I'm just saying as a trend, these things have been on the downslide and they're costing lots and lots of money. They've lost billions of dollars on this stuff. And there's no doubt about it.
And I think we're gonna see like
G.I. Jam, and I know you weren't talking to us about calling us idiots or anything like that. I understand.
Oh yeah,
where you're coming from.
No, for sure.
I'm not going down that road. I understand. No. I understand what you're trying to say.
I call myself an idiot. I do that all the time. No, by no means. No, absolutely not. And ultimately, again, at the end of the day, it's like, everybody's going to determine, what is good for them. But there is truth in the numbers. There is truth in looking at just how are things performing,
right.
What are they doing? How long are they out? Are people streaming it on Disney Plus? How many millions of minutes do these things, are they in the top 10 of new streaming shows? I mean, those things are, statistics that you can look at
right.
to gather your info. And Clint has great intel on Netflix, worth 3 times more than Disney. And that's actually, they're the only company, the only few companies that are making money.
Yeah, they won the streaming wars before they ever started. Once you started this whole streaming war thing, it was already over because Netflix won and Amazon didn't give a fuck. So it didn't matter what their numbers were because their streaming service was ancillary to how they were making their money off of it.
Yes.
Yes. There's another one here. Where is it?
Well,
that one there. Okay. Blade 3 and Ender's Game. I will tell you a story about Ender's Game. Okay. I like that movie. I was a huge fan of the book, but I only went into that movie for one thing. I wanted to see the zero-G combat scene, and I thought they did it so awesome. I was satisfied with the rest of the movie. I know it was nothing like the books, but
if that's what got you through,
I had fun with that movie.
What got you through?
And that was, I know how bad it is, but
yeah, no, I get it, man. And War Chest Full of Toys says, I'm calling everybody idiots. It's what I do, and it is what you do.
There you go.
But what you didn't do is say War Chest is here. So I'm gonna call you out. You idiot.
Where's your standard intro, bro? Come on, man. You've got a rep to keep up.
And 3-star, I'm with you too. I mean, can you imagine? And do you again, do you understand why people do get upset when they do race swap or gender swap characters? As some people may say, well, who cares? And like you said, hey, it's a good story. I'm with you if it's a good story. But what if you did it the other way around? Can you imagine what that outcry would look like? So I always think it's kind of like, hey, look at both sides of the issue and say, hey, what would that look like? But I think the fact of, for the story, great. For virtue signaling points, right. That's where I have a problem with it, right? Yep. And Turk Murphy's Toy Solutions is also in the house, sliding in here. What's up, Turk? And so, that's all I'm saying. It's kind of like, hey, if we look at it this way, then maybe we can look at it that way as well. And Mendoza, you got it. When it's all said and done, it's kind of like, hey, look, I like what I like. And if somebody else likes something, don't get too upset about it. Just as if somebody dislikes something, But I do love passionate, discussion about it. And Absolutely. It's okay to get passionate, and it's okay to get fired up about shit that you like. That's great. I would much rather have that than apathy.
Apathy.
Much rather have that than apathy.
Is the death
when
of it.
No one gives a shit. And with Marvel, for a bit, that's been the case.
Yep.
Apathetic. We'll see what they do with the Doomsday and everything. Fantastic Four. Can't wait to see that.
My issue with the race, gender, whatever, the switches that are not the way they were initially written, if you do it for the sole purpose of pissing off the chuds, you're an asshole, and you did it for the wrong reasons, and you don't have a reason why it's happening. So story-wise, it's not going to make sense in context.
Especially.
And it comes off as hateful, and you're going to drive everybody away from it.
Especially if you have valid employees of your company going on social media about how they love pissing off the chuds or owning the chuds or whatever.
Pablo Hidalgo, thank you very much.
Yes, Pablo Hidalgo, Lucasfilm employee.
Piece of shit.
You know, talking shit about Star Wars Theory, who got emotional when Luke Skywalker came back in Mandalorian Season 2 at the end. That's what you want out of your fans. Star Wars Theory
has more subs than he does.
yeah, no, I agree. But that's what you want. Passionate fans. You want emotion, and when you go out of your way to make fun of them and call it to attention so that other fuckers can sit there and pile on, you know, it's like, man, that's tough. And that guy still has a great job and gets paid a lot of money, and he is the Star Wars lore master, basically.
But he doesn't even know the lore.
No, he doesn't actually. But enough of that. So I wanted to get into a little bit of The Last of Us 2. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but I did want to bring this up because
I don't have any golf clubs. What?
You want me to mail you a driver?
No.
How about a 7-iron?
I can go get Casey Jones. He's got a couple back there.
Oh, fantastic. So, The Last of Us 2, of course, we have good old Collider here. We all gotta love Collider. The Last of Us 2, folks, here's the deal. If you don't know about the second game, if you haven't been watching this show, then you're not going to give a shit what I tell you right here as far as a spoiler is concerned. Okay? If you haven't played the first game or the second game, then you don't care because you haven't been in any rush to play it. And if you haven't watched the first season or the second season, you don't care because you haven't been in any rush to see it. So, here's the deal. The main character of the game, the first game, is a guy named Joel. Ellie is his companion. It's a father-daughter type relationship, as she is his pseudo-daughter after his daughter gets killed early on in the first game. He saves Ellie. He saves her at the end of the first game from people who want to experiment on her. And she doesn't know they're going to kill her. She thinks she's just going to be donating some blood or donating some plasma. And they're going to kill her to try to make a cure for the zombie outbreak. Okay?
Which is a dumb fucking plan to begin with. Because if you think she's the cure, then you'd want to use her blood maybe. She needed to be alive for this, but whatever.
So here's the deal. In the second game, a very controversial thing was done. Joel is killed in the second game early on in the game after a couple hours of playing it. And I'm not going to go into all the details about the character that kills him and all that stuff. That's for another day. But nonetheless, the show is following the games.
Yep.
And what happened after episode 2 was what a lot of people expected to happen. When they killed Joel, people were going to stop watching because now the show has turned into losing one of its main characters and better actors, but it's also turned into a lesbian love story that a lot of people really don't care to watch. And especially when one of the characters looks like the person from the Mask movie from the 80s that starred Cher. So it is what it is. Point being is that now there's review bombing. It's, people don't want to watch because it's being review bombed because they killed Joel, and they don't like watching stories that have characters that are in the minority or marginalized characters. And the Rotten Tomatoes score, which was very high, has steadily dropped down. All right. Audience score gone from now 58% to 53% to 51%.
And I'll tell you that everybody with that review score dropping, those are all the people that didn't play the second game. I'm just saying.
Yes. Now here's the deal. People that didn't play the second game who have been watching the show and enjoying the show are now like, fuck this show. Because you just killed off one of the best characters. Why do I want to follow this show?
Right.
Regardless of the sexuality of the now two co-leads.
Whatever.
But that's what I'm saying. Regardless of that, it's like you killed off like the main character. But here's where Collider really starts to go over the line. Review bombing is largely targeted towards minorities. And it says
Is it
here, a
though?
phenomenon is unsurprisingly directed against women and other minorities. And here we go once again with fans and gamers bad, racist, phobic, review bombing. Well, isn't there such a thing as positive review bombing too? Doesn't it work both ways?
Absolutely.
So,
There's no such thing as review bombing.
but if people tell you that they don't like what this is that review bombing? It doesn't
Nope.
make sense to me. And I came across this article, but that was the part for me that when I saw that little part of the headline or that part of the article, and I thought, here's another magazine or another website pulling the same old tricks.
Yep.
Right. And
well, it's all clickbait.
People are so over it now, Matthew.
Yeah.
The show is the show.
Yep.
And I saw the comments you starred and Jake Gonjin too. I want to say thank you for stopping in for sure and hanging out. But and I'll let you go over those comments, Matthew. But you get what I'm saying. Like, here we go again. If people that didn't know and didn't play the second game are pissed because of what happened, and also too, let's not kid ourselves. There are comments made in this story, in the show, that, you know, if you're a guy, I could see you rolling your eyeballs. I could see if you are a straight guy, I could see you rolling your eyeballs. And the reason I say that is because there are things that are put in here that the scene mirrors the game, but the dialogue has been altered a little bit. They've added something. And I have a special clip. A special clip just for that. Yes, I do.
All having a baby. Holy shit. I'm gonna be a dad. Yeah.
So, this scene from the show is when her girlfriend finds out she's pregnant from her ex-boyfriend. These two characters have been together for just a short period of time. And this scene is played when she tells Ellie she's pregnant. And the response is, we all are going to have a baby, me, you, and your ex-boyfriend. And she says, oh, I'm going to be a dad.
So we're all having a baby. Holy shit. I'm gonna be a dad.
Now, I'm sorry, but there's a lot of people, they don't want to watch that. I'm just being honest. There's a lot of people that'll check out.
I mean,
it did. Come on. I mean, it is what it is. I'm not saying good or bad or whatever, but there's a lot of people who will watch that episode, let alone after the Joel episode, and go, all right. I mean, okay. Like, and now the show becomes the father-daughter bond that is Joel and Ellie is such an important bond, and that's what people love about it. That's what people loved about the game. When you take that away and you turn it into a revenge tale, and you know, and however you want to adapt the show is fine. The actor you want to use or actress you want to use is fine. It doesn't sell it, but then you add in other parts, then people are going to check out, man. I'm sorry. It's just the truth.
Yeah. I mean, there's only so far you can take people before they're like, hey, I don't connect with this at all anymore. And
correct.
When you alienate 90% of your audience, 95% of your audience, they're going to disappear. Some people are going to stick with it just because they want to stick with it, and they're going to finish it out because that's where they are. And I respect that. But at the same time, most people are going to say, this is nonsense. I don't get it. I'm out.
And that's just one. Again, there's many comments throughout the show. There's parts where you need to, and look, I can suspend my disbelief with zombie movies and shows and stuff like that. Of course I can. But again, you have people that don't know the games. They didn't know the games. And then you kill off one of the major players who is kind of the heart and soul of the show, because let's not kid ourselves. Bella Ramsey as Ellie is not convincing. I'm sorry.
And here's okay, if you're in a post-apocalyptic world, we're going to go back to gender norms. I'm sorry, that's what's going to happen. If
people aren't going to be. Yeah,
you're going to go back to gender stereotypes and gender norms. There's a reason there's stereotypes. There's a reason why there's norms. This is weird and whatever. And it's why I never wanted to watch the show to begin with, because
you knew
I knew about the second game. Right. And I knew where it was going to go. And I said, I don't care how good the first season is. I'm not going to invest time in this because I know where it's going to go. And it's just going to make me mad. And if we had known that about Game of Thrones, if George had finished the books and we knew that Dan and Dave were going to screw it up so bad, I wouldn't have invested time in that either, even though those first 4 seasons of Game of Thrones are phenomenal.
Right. Now, I want to get into a couple comments because I know people have put a couple things in here. I did want to mention Min Joseph saying, can't believe they did just tell it in reverse order. I agree.
Yeah,
I think if you wanted to keep your fucking audience, tell it a different way.
Well, you got to keep Joel in there for as long as possible, right? He's the titular character. He's the one that everybody's connected.
Not flashbacks.
Right. He's the one that everybody's connected with. So if you tell it in reverse order, then you can keep an audience. And then at the end, you can go back to the beginning and do the thing. And then everybody's, shock value. Okay, where do we go from here after all this is built up? That makes total sense.
Yes. Jake Godjin says, I hated the second game, but the show somehow made me realize maybe I was too harsh on the game. And then Joseph says, my wife now knows nothing about the game and stopped watching after what happened. I could see that happening. And Jake also, I could see where, say, hey, man, I'm digging this. Maybe I judged the second game a little too harshly. Maybe that shock of that happening early in the game, because they do force you to play as, at that point, the antagonist of the game. Mm-hmm. They force you to play that character. So I get it. I get what they're trying to do, but it's a game. And the thing about a game is you are invested because you are playing the game. When you're watching a show, you have nothing to do but sit back and watch it. And when something like that happens to a character that people are invested in.
This is the big difference between a game and a TV show or movie. If you subvert expectations in a game, people just turn it off. If you do it in a show,
play something else.
If you do it in a show or TV series, you may get them strung along for a little bit, and you've got a very short window of time to prove your worth as to why this subversion of expectations is worth it. And so it better be at the end when you can climax and then wrap up the story real quick with why you did what you did, and then make it all make sense. And if it doesn't make sense, then you get Knives Out, right? Because it's bullshit. And people just walk away.
War Chest, Atypical. I haven't watched it. Bella Ramsey was in Game of Thrones. Yep. She was the little Lady Mormont, the little 10-year-old Mormont girl that ends up getting done off towards the end, offed in the show. But she was the little girl that controlled the Mormont house that Jorah was a part of in Game of Thrones. But she was, it was a few years ago.
At the beginning of her character arc, she was phenomenal. But by the last couple seasons, she was badass warrior woman who was about a foot and a half tall.
And it's the same here.
Just weird.
That first episode of this season 2, she's taking on a guy that's like 6'4", 240 pounds with muscles, and somehow she's able to take him out and choke him out, and it looks so ridiculous. And then her, first thing she says is something like, boom, motherfucker. And you're like, oh, here we go. Thanks, Ellie. Garaf, thanks for stopping in. If Sydney Sweeney played Ellie, I'd still watch, maybe on mute, but I'd watch. I'm with you 100%.
Whatever, man, that's cool.
Friend. You know what I mean? Like,
we were talking about I Dream of Jeannie and getting real close to that TV to see if we could look down her shirt, right? I mean, come on.
and Jake Gahn says I was just being sarcastic. The second game is still pure woke trash. I love you, and I love you for that comment. Seriously, thank you so much. She was fine early on in Game of Thrones. When she became like little warrior girl that got a little.
By the end of the series, she was an insufferable twat, like so many others.
It was a little out of control. But whatever. I mean, that's where she got noticed. And she's obviously gotten offers and such since then. And that's
those first beginning parts with her in the first couple seasons she was in, she nailed that part, and she ruled like someone who was young in that position would have to rule in a medieval environment with all this other shit going on. And then in the end, she's badass warrior woman, but she's still 1.5 feet tall, so it didn't make sense.
Now, you guys all have heard of the Critical Drinker, right? Most all of you have heard of the Critical Drinker. He is a big-time YouTuber now. God, I don't even know, 2+ million subs at this point.
Yeah. Well, he's got a crowdfunding campaign to make independent films or short films with a bunch of different people, and he's made his own, and he's written books.
Right.
And he's written comic books as well. And man, that guy is hilarious and rips things apart systematically and has really interesting stuff that he talks about.
Great channel. He does a great live stream on Thursdays called Open Bar.
Now I saw his video was still up when I looked this afternoon.
So here's the deal. It got put back up, but it yesterday got taken down by a copyright of some kind.
Yeah.
And this is a guy who knows how to not get copyright struck or claimed. He's been doing this for a while. He's got plenty of subs. He's not going to make a mistake. It's transformative content. And he got claimed.
2.5 million subscribers. He's got some pull with YouTube.
Right. So he got claimed by either Max, Neil Druckmann, or Neil Cuckman.
It was a subsidiary company, one of those third parties that come up.
Subsidiary, right? Third company. So originally, yesterday, on this post on Reddit, this was somebody saying, hey, if you look up the video, it's unavailable. And it was.
Yep.
Now, I watched it already when it came out.
I'd already seen it too,
And it had 600 and something thousand views in like 7 hours or something like that, 17 hours.
Yep.
But now, if you click on it, it actually does go to the video. There's a face only a mother could love. Good God
boy
almighty. She's a warehouse. All right. So anyway, but again, it shows me either, and it's scary because remember when Last of Us 2 game came out, Neil Druckmann and Naughty Dog were going around copyright striking channels.
No, hold on.
Who were mentioning, who were just okay.
Because Neil Druckmann came out and said, "No, I didn't even know about any of that stuff. I didn't do any of that stuff." And whatever he denied doing it, and then 2 years later, he said, "Yeah, I was in those meetings right away when we went out there. We went after everybody who was putting out negative content because it was going to hurt our product." And so he actually said we went after him.
Yes. Yeah, they admitted, and they were striking channels, not claiming, striking channels. 3 strikes, delete your YouTube channel, you're done.
Yep.
And they were striking channels over The Last of Us 2, the game, because spoilers had come out. People found out Joel was getting used as a golf ball, and people were talking about it, but they weren't sharing pictures. They weren't sharing video. They were just talking and describing, and they were striking that shit because they didn't like it. That's when I discovered That's when I discovered Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers. That's when I discovered Ryan Kennel. Those guys in particular is when I discovered them during that whole saga, because their channels were getting hit by Naughty Dog.
Yep.
And so nonetheless, it's scary because you got somebody that's got that many subs and somehow you're going to try to strike this guy or claim this guy. And ultimately, sometimes videos get claimed and you can't show them in Russia or something, so you never really know. But when that happened yesterday, that was kind of a thing because that's a big YouTuber, man. Like that's a big YouTuber, a very popular person who is now on Piers Morgan Live and does, has made a independent film and is doing another independent film and like all kinds of stuff. So as an author, like has written books. So really quick, I want to show this. Jake says, don't forget the low-key mentioned the communism in the first season. That's absolutely correct. That is the real mindset of the showrunners and Neil Druckmann as well.
But hold on.
It wasn't even low-key.
Let's go back and think about this for a second because they talked about the communism and how wonderful it was.
Yes.
But in the very next scene, they showed how shitty it was and how it didn't actually work.
That's true. I forgot about that. Well, that's when your writers can't remember what the hell they wrote, right?
Well, obviously that happens way too frequently these days. There's no continuity in any of these things. So
yeah, and again, like I said, Jake, that's what they did. I mean, they were attacking people. So I'm curious to see Wraith Mace is in the house. What's up, Wraith Mace?
What's up, Wraith?
Big dog. I'm just curious. I'm curious to see if anybody else is making transformative content. That's what content creators do on YouTube. They make transformative content. And yes, you can show a show if you're talking about it and actually taking that content, transforming it into an editorial or something else, opinion piece. That's part of the gig. It is what it is. Okay, here's the deal. Thunderbolts. I've seen it. You've seen it. We both basically, even the last 27 minutes of a therapy session, we both know and understand. And I want to get into it. I do want to get into it, but I do want to say this. Okay? I do want to say this. If you do not want spoilers, as much as I don't want you here, I also don't want you to, want me to be the person that just pisses you off. I don't necessarily care about spoiling hardcore the movie, but there are some very general things that need to be discussed. It just does, including what was a character arc for one of the characters in the movie that was cut.
Yep.
And the person who wrote it was not real thrilled about that. So you guys let me know. I'm I don't necessarily want to spoil the movie for you, but I also don't want you, if you're really, 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 really want to see Thunderbolts and you're really, really, really interested, and you're going to go to the movies and pay your money. I don't want to be the person who, lays it out for you. But I'm also not going to go beat by beat through the movie. We don't have enough time for that. But there are some things I did want to cover to give my opinion, because I gave my opinion Sunday night. I haven't heard your opinion, Matthew. So, and that way I could clarify a couple things and maybe more concisely say what I want to say.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to start off the conversation with generalizing and then we'll get into specifics.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we're going to talk about, what we thought about it. And
just an overview. Yeah. But quickly, for those of you, this is a spoiler, but it's really not, because if you haven't seen this story, then I really don't know what to say, because this has been all over social media today. This is Sebastian Stan.
I mean, if you're not paying attention, then you wouldn't know, but this is
This is Sebastian Stan, the actor, Bucky Barnes, Winter Soldier, walking by the Thunderbolts poster. And this was happening. I guess he did this to a few posters. It was very convenient for someone to put tape at the top of the frame for him already. That was very nice of someone to put that tape up there. He just had to walk by. I thought this was clever, though. I thought it was neat. The Thunderbolts asterisk spelled out means the new Avengers. There you go. If you didn't know that, I'm surprised because it was all over the place beforehand. If you are on Instagram or Twitter or anything, I don't know how you would have not seen that. But anyway, so that was a little video of him, and that's fun. Look, that's cool. I think that's cool. I think it's a fun little marketing thing for him to do. So first things first, Matthew, we did talk about the $76 million box office. It's the second worst MCU opening. I don't
just
think
for inflation the worst.
Yes. I don't think it's the worst film by far in the MCU. I don't think it's the second worst film
I don't know.
by far in the MCU.
No, definitely not.
I think it's better than that. There are things about this film that I liked, but I want to hear your opinion because I gave mine on Sunday for the most part. I'll give it again here in a minute, but I want to hear what you have to say about it.
I mean, I'm going to just jump into it and say, there's a lot I don't like about this movie, but there's a couple little things that I'm like, that was really good. There was some actual acting done here. The best I can say for this, it was almost a movie, right? And you had such potential. There was so much potential in this movie to tell amazing stories. One, about mental health. Two, about character development. So many opportunities to have a bonding moment between the team members that created a character movement that went forward, and you could really empathize with the person at that point. And you could actually relate to them, and you could create this bond with the movie, and you would have people buying in so much more. And it's all wasted potential. That's the best I can say about this movie is it's wasted potential. And that there are some really good moments in the movie.
Fight scenes. There's some pretty cool fight scenes.
There's some pretty decent fight scenes, but it's all wasted potential, and it doesn't go anywhere that you think it is. And the ending of the movie is unsatisfactory.
Oh Lord, yeah, that ending. And I know for me, like, I don't go to Marvel movies for mental health. I don't need Marvel to teach me about mental health. I think it's a misnomer, and I think it's misguided for them to say this is about mental health. I think it's a very weak attempt to address mental health.
It's so superficial. It's actually disingenuous and shitty to say that this is about mental health.
And that's what I mean. I mean, look, the very first line of the movie is something is wrong with me, and I'm like, you don't say.
Or maybe
Elena.
I'm just bored.
You don't say. Bobby Wool's in the house as a Thunderbolt role.
You know
no, Thunderbolt is not in the Thunderbolts movie, Bobby.
No, he's not. Not at all. Do you know where that line came from?
Who, from Yelena?
Yeah, at the very beginning.
Oh, hell, I don't remember.
Wayne's World, party time, excellent. I thought I had mono, but then I figured out I was just really bored.
What? What?
This is a Wayne's World line that they threw into this movie.
No. What? Okay, hang on. I don't have time to research this. Damn it, Matthew. I'm gonna have to fact check you. No. But what I mean is like there's some things in this movie I did like. I liked some of the action scenes. I thought were fun. Yeah. I love the John Walker character. I think John Walker is the hero.
Soldier. He was right 100% of the time, and in this movie, he was right 100% of the time.
Well, he saves their ass like multiple times.
He gets treated like a piece of shit.
Yes, every time it's a man joke. You're a dumb man. You're a bad father. You're a terrible husband. You know, you have a small dick. Your helmet looks stupid.
Oh,
And he
if you like
saves
it,
them.
that's okay. Snicker, snicker, snicker.
Yeah. Literally, John Walker is probably the best character in this movie.
Absolutely.
I would say he is the best character in this movie, in my opinion, at least.
Yep.
You know, I'm not saying he's the funniest. I'm not saying he's the whatever. I'm saying, like, for me, I think he's the best character. I think he totally works, and I think
I thought Bob worked pretty well too.
So I thought the way they handled Bob and the way that we get to see Bob, that, you know, he's got a bad dad, fucking wah. You know, he's got, you know, it's like we didn't get enough setup of Bob and his alter ego to fully understand that character and what makes him so dangerous. We didn't get to see what makes the void so dangerous.
Yeah.
We understood that there's no stakes when Yelena decides to walk into the void. When we've seen humans getting put into the void, they're erased, so you think they're dead. Then you realize, nope, that's just a big fooled you.
I mean, we're gonna get into spoilers now, so if you're listening, you may want to check out. But
so
the best thing in the world would have been for Yelena and Walker to have a moment where they validate each other.
Yes.
Right? Where you go into their psyche and you realize what's going on with them, and the other one says, that's not true, this is what I see, blah 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 blah, and the other person does the same thing, right? You have this therapeutic moment between these two characters. You create a bonding moment between these two characters, and then you love both of them even more because they recognize each other, and then they grow and they come out of it and they go back and they do the job that they need to do together.
I even go back to just, okay, so supposedly, because I hate everything first without actually enjoying anything, I just hate it just to hate it and look forward to hating it. I will say this, you know, I wanted this movie. I like the second Suicide Squad movie. I don't think this is a Suicide Squad movie.
No.
I don't think Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character is a Waller character. Okay.
No, she's annoying.
She's not Amanda Waller. I think her character is extremely nonsensical.
Yeah.
I think she's weak as shit, but she supposedly has all this power. She somehow bought the fucking Avengers Tower. Okay. So, but her lines throughout the movie is she's just a bitch. Okay, fine. Her assistant is faithful, and then you think she's going to turn and be a good person, and what does she do? She's a bitch too. Then you look at Bucky. Bucky basically has nothing to do for this movie. He's
wasted Bucky,
a wasted character. And if I were him, like, I guess he's collecting the check. That's fine. But like, Bucky Barnes has been taken such an important, amazing arc in the Winter Soldier, Captain America Winter Soldier, and subsequent movies. And now they've taken him and he's just a passenger. He's a side man now.
Okay, so he's been a passenger since obviously that scene where he was in the back seat of the car with Falcon.
Yeah.
Right? And he's talking about moving the seat forward.
But so John Walker, okay.
John Walker's the best character in the movie. So
he's the best
Mendoza,
character.
I don't want to say they did him wrong, but they treated him like shit. But his character, for everything that they tried to do to his character, he was right.
Well, in the movie, they show him being like exactly what you want him to be, but the girls talk shit to him the whole fucking movie, and Bucky Barnes talks shit to him the whole fucking movie. And going back to Captain Falcon and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, or whatever the fuck, they treated him like shit then.
Yes,
he didn't have the super serums. He didn't have a super soldier serum. He was trying to play the part. He was a war hero. He was decorated. They gave him the shield and all that shit. Right? Sam Wilson turned it down.
Yep.
Then, dude kills a terrorist. And all of a sudden, it's like, I can't believe you did this. I can't believe you. We have to strip you. And
he killed a terrorist. And
they left,
ridiculed.
and Sam even left him to fucking die in that show.
Yeah.
And so, but anyway, so his character, he does
that show's the most
everything
hateful show that they've
you'd
made.
want him to do. And yet he's consistently shit on by especially the girls. Okay, Yelena is supposed to be the star. I'm sorry. She does not carry a film for me.
No.
Her accent is not good.
No.
Her Russian accent is not good.
Oh, it's terrible.
Red Guardian, they portray him as a drunken fucking idiot when we had never had him portrayed like that before. If you go back to even the Black Widow movie, he's not this way. They've turned him into like some buffoon who can't hold a job, who is an absolute mess in life.
I thought he was a buffoon in Black Widow.
I not like this. I don't think so. Not like this.
Yeah.
I mean, this literally turns him into an absolute idiot. The ghost character? What the fuck's she there for?
What the fuck is she there for? Right? You know what character development we've had from her?
What is she there for?
You know what character development we've had for her? She was the bad guy, and then all of a sudden they healed her. Okay, that's it. That's the character development we've had to this point with her. And now all of a sudden she's a good person? How is she a good person?
Which means
she was raised by a maniac, right?
She did not need to be in this film. Not at all. And real quick, because I do want to.
She did have more development than Task Manager did.
Okay, and that's what I wanted to bring up.
Spoiler alert. Alert.
So Taskmaster, Thunderbolts writer didn't know Marvel cut his Taskmaster arc until he saw the movie. Here's what Taskmaster's full story originally looked like. Let's see here. Guy says he actually found out how radically her role had been altered when he was sitting in on an early screening watching the movie, which shocked the hell out of him. It says Black Widow sets up Antonia as the cyborg-eyed, mind-controlled daughter, ultimate weapon. It says by the end of Black Widow, Dreykov is dead. You know, if you've seen Black Widow, it leaves Antonia to put her own super assassin skills to more profitable work. So she's a mercenary now, working for Valentina, which is, oh God, I got to bring that shit up. Okay. So she's part of this mercenary team that they send out. Now, she gets killed early in the movie. She gets shot in the head. Okay? In the first third of the movie, they spit it in this fucking place, this dome or whatever the hell it is, this underground or inside facility, underground facility. It's like the first third of the movie, and it's like, oh my God. Like, let's just go anywhere else. But all the mercs end up there. Yelena, the Ghost.
Well, Chef, I can talk to you in any accent you want. Any accent you want.
Yeah. They're all there, and they all fight each other.
But I've
and
been to Mother Russia when it was the Soviet Union.
And it is a cool, like, you know, scene where they're fighting each other. But it's so funny because this guy says, he said, when I went to watch the first cut, he said, it shocked me that she died because that's not what I wrote. You know, he said, it says, let's see if I can get to it. He says, the final draft of his script, Taskmaster survives for the entire movie, was the center of a pretty big subplot. She bonded with Ava, who, as we learned in Ant-Man and the Wasp, gained quantum shifting powers. That's Ghost. Okay, so she bonds with Ghost. Said that, and Ava, having won her autonomy, God damn it, earlier in the chronology than Taskmaster, was kind of a big sister in a way. How to break free, be your own person. His version of Taskmaster also enabled a running joke about her tendency to forget she'd moved past trying to assassinate John Walker, and she tries to go after him again, which, I mean, she does in the movie. I don't understand.
But I could see where that would get annoying, and somebody at corporate probably said, "Hey,
yeah,
I don't like this.
Yeah,
get rid of it."
Right.
I could see somebody saying that.
So, she'd keep going after him as they're discussing trying to get out of this vault. She'd just keep trying to kill him like over and over. And I can see where they'd want to pull that gag out of it.
Yeah.
I think the thing is that for this guy, her surviving till the end, I could fully see where like you've written this whole part. If they do whatever they do, that's fine. At least the character survives to the end.
Right.
And but no, they kill her in the beginning. It is like, shit. They shouldn't even call her a member of the Thunderbolts because she wasn't. They weren't a team yet.
No, yeah,
they weren't a team yet.
We're not a team.
So the Sentry character, all right, which right here, Jake says Sentry is too complex a character to have in such a small and grounded movie. I agree 100%. There's not enough time to tell that story.
That's right.
And they don't do it well here. He's a patient. He doesn't remember shit. When he finally gets his memory, it's because Valentina, Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character, gets him to remember. Remember, he has all these powers. And there's no way to really, truly explore his background until the end of the movie, which is done in The Void, which is in the flashbacks, kind of, about his childhood. Not everybody, Elena has her own flashback segment and all that shit. But
therapy session.
The last 20 minutes of the movie is like convincing, Bob about who he is, right? And that they can work together. He can overcome this. He starts to overcome the void, and then they decide to pull him away and do a group hug together. And that's what breaks the spell, if you want to look at it that way.
Yeah.
But one of the biggest problems I have, Matthew, with this film, Valentina, okay, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, she tries to kill the characters in the movie. She doesn't like them. She hates them. She sends Sentry against them. And then somehow they end up working for her at the end of the movie. She introduces the new Avengers and they're just like, okay. And they are at Avengers Tower and now they work for her, even though they're like, we know all your secrets. We own you. But I'm like, how in the world does this make any sense?
You know who her character is, right?
I do.
Yeah, Madam Hydra.
Right.
So, okay, none of this makes sense. She's not Amanda Waller. These are not anti-heroes. These are not heroes. These are pieces of shit human beings, except for John Walker, right? John Walker's the only one who's decent because, Black Widow, even after she broke free of the Black Widow, she's just out there murdering people left and right. She doesn't give a fuck. You know, all these other people or whatever. John Walker's the only actual hero amongst all of them. And when he lists his credentials, they're like, okay, if we're done talking about our childhood, panty waist trauma stuff, bullshit, we can move on, right? And it's like, what the fuck? Yeah, the ending of this movie is anticlimactic because it's a let's hug it out. And then on top of all that, we get Sam Wilson filing a lawsuit against them because they're not allowed to use the Avengers name because he owns it. Well, if he owns it, motherfucker, why didn't he be able to get a loan in Falcon and Winter Soldier?
See, that's okay. See, now we start going down the fucking rabbit hole, folks, because that shit makes no fucking sense. So in Falcon the Winter Soldier, he can't get a loan because he's black. His sister can't get a loan because she's black. But then now he's suing them for the name. And on top of that, like,
how does he have the name?
Does anybody seriously think he helped save the fucking world? Tony Stark, with all that money, wouldn't have hooked up all of these people that he saved the world. Like, it's nonsensical. The shit is stupid. And like just you said, now he's suing for the Avengers. They have a new logo, and then they're trying to put a Z on the end of it. It's it's so stupid. And The other post-credit scene or mid-credit scene is we see the Fantastic Four ship coming into now this universe. So now we already know the spoilers to the end of the Fantastic Four, which is that Galactus destroys their Earth in that universe, and the Fantastic Four escape to this universe. So we already know the ending now of Fantastic Four. So there you go. And what's fucked up, though, is like I said, these guys who got sent to kill each other, okay, all of a sudden are now accepting to work for her as like the new Avengers. It's goofy. And on top of that, this Avenger squad is 2 assassins, right? We have, Yelena. You've got Ghost. Then you have John Walker. You've got Red Guardian, who's all about it because he just wants to be known. He wants to be a hero, whatever. Which I liked his character. The one part about him saying that, what gave him pride was at saving people for his country, even though he was from Russia, and stuff like that. But this team, consists of, it doesn't make any sense to me that this would be your new Avengers team. I'm sorry. Like, I just don't really fully understand. For a new
Avengers team. It does make sense for a team coming together.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of stuff you can do with it.
Yes.
But, and the other thing that I have with this movie is that there's no acting. Okay. There are 3 scenes where there's actual acting that takes place. And the rest of it is just thing happens and we move on. And thing happens and
joke.
We fight. And
we got a joke.
And whatever.
Something serious, got to cut the tension with a joke. Something serious, cut the tension with a joke. Rinse and repeat. You know, it's the Marvel way. Real quick, Bobby Wool, we did not. I did see that Jeremy Renner basically saying that they, offered him half the money for Hawkeye season 2, which, even if he took half the money, he would have been in half of the show or less because they would focus obviously not on him but on Kate Bishop. I mean, she would be a passenger in a show with his name on it.
Yep. War Chest, have a good night. I've heard good things. There's 2 games that have come out so far that people are like super excited about. So hope you're playing those.
Yes, there is some cool shit. And really quick, because I saw he had a few things I did want to say. I know he's a big fan of comics in particular, and Taskmaster is a cool character. Obviously, they gender swapped her, and then they could have done so much with him. And yeah, it sucks the way that this character was portrayed in.
Well, I mean, they wasted
Widow.
Taskmaster. They wasted Muse in the Daredevil series. They're wasting these villains, and they're not even using Zemo, and they have Zemo.
Right, and yes, Thor did kill Sentry by throwing him into the sun, but they won't go there for the comics unless somehow they make that a part of Secret Wars or something of that nature. But I don't know, man. Look, if you like this film, I can understand why. If you just dug the action and you like, just here's this scene and then this scene and we go to this scene and you don't think too much about what's happening, then hey, that's great. More power to you. More power to you. For me though, I have to look at it for me, what works for me is critically and look at what's come before and try to say, okay, does this stack up with the Marvel stuff? I mean, does it work? And it doesn't work for me. I mean, but if somebody likes it and they, that's great, but I just, again, the numbers are going to tell you everything you need to know about what most people feel about this film. Yeah. By this next weekend, we'll know whether or not people really like it.
Hey, but you know what comes out next weekend?
What are we in? May. Mother's Day is on Sunday. The weekend after that?
Well, no, isn't it Lilo and Stitch and
Oh yes,
Mission Impossible come out this
absolutely,
weekend?
yes, both of them. You're
Yeah,
absolutely correct. And Lilo and Stitch, I'm sure, is going to make an absolute mint,
they're gonna kill it.
without a doubt. Yes, I agree. I mean, I don't know. It's oh gosh, you need to do better, Senator. Yeah. Todd C's in the house. Todd
What's
C
up?
is in his house. Yeah, the whole thing with Century and Void, I think it was all kind of rushed and just not properly set up. And that's a shame because I think if it was, we would have gotten a better film. Um, this film does not tackle mental health. Does it say people are better together as a team, that it's great to help people that, maybe you don't know very well or whatever? Then, whatever. But to say this film tackles mental health is definitely misleading.
Yep.
And it's not a deep dive into that.
Oh, for sure.
And people writing that and telling people that are just feeding a narrative that they've been fed by Disney. This is what
Yep.
you need to say. These are the bullet points. And you need to, and so then when you look and you see every article and every, opinion piece about it says the same thing, then they've been told to say this, and that's the message they want to get out. So that's just the way it goes. Couple starred comments here as we kind of wrap things up, folks, and get done here. Even Ghost would have been badass in an Iron Man movie. Ghost is a cool character.
Ghost, yeah, exactly.
Cool character, but unfortunately, in Ant-Man, they started off on the wrong foot.
Yeah,
I think identity politics plays a part in some of this stuff too. I'm not necessarily just saying with that character, but with a lot of these characters.
yeah.
Jake Gone Jin says, my favorite part in The Void. Yelena asked Bucky, what did you see? Oh, I dealt with that before. Me, fuck off plot. Yes. Bucky definitely gets the short shrift here in this movie.
He's hardly in it.
And that's a damn shame. And also, I'm sorry, but the fucking chicken costume, man, come on, man. That shit is whack, dude. That was stupid. I'm sorry. That shit was stupid. Morchess says that's part of the reason I didn't like Suicide Squad. They put the Suicide Squad up against a villain that was so overpowered for them. Well, the first movie especially was dumb because you have these people going up against a sorceress. Yeah. It's like, come on, man. Like, this is freaking stupid. Mr. Wonderful's in the house. It's so late I was prepping, but came. I enjoyed Thunderbolts. So, yeah, you're not alone. You're absolutely not alone. There's plenty of people. And it's a lot of people, Toy Collecting Space, that I've seen that have posted and commented on other streams and said, hey, look, I dug the film, and I will say this, it is better than a lot of what we've gotten in the last few years. I will give it credit for that. Look, when I was watching it, Matthew, there were parts of the movie that I was like, I was entertained. Yeah. I was in the movie.
Yeah,
I really was. And then there's something that just pulls me right out of it. Yeah. And people would say, well, that's a superhero film. It's just going to happen. That shit didn't happen with Civil War. That shit didn't happen with, like, Iron Man. It didn't happen.
Honestly, it didn't happen for me in the first 22 films.
I mean, the only ones maybe that I rolled my eyes was Thor: Dark World.
I still like that movie.
I didn't care for Thor: Dark World.
I love Chris Eccleston and whatever. Right? I have affinity for that one, but
like the I'd say that I liked Age of Ultron. And I know a lot of people look at that one as the redheaded stepchild. I'm not saying I like all of Age of Ultron, but I liked it for what it was within context of the movie surrounding it. And
James Spader, man, plays a good bad guy.
And I don't know, man. I'm with you, Bobby. I kind of agree. It tackles mental health with blue hair dye. Yeah, it's I totally get that. Yeah, Mendoza, wait till you see it. Chicken costume, it's stupid. Mr. Wonderful says it felt Guardians light, except James Gunn is a far better writer.
Yeah, I mean, there was no chemistry between the group that was together. There was no real comedy between it. There was negative backhanded barbs that
It really
didn't.
was, wasn't it? It was like, negative, backhanded, you're a piece of shit,
Yeah,
dick jokes, your dick
yeah.
is tiny, kind of thing. Well, when we're done comparing your little dicks here, blah blah blah, and again, folks, I'm just gonna tell you, fucking John Walker, man. The
He's
whole
still the best
movie,
character
he is saving their asses. He
every
saves
time.
their asses getting out of that fucking place in the first third of the movie. He
Yep.
saves them with his shield when they're getting shot at in the limo, right? He saves them multiple times throughout this film,
Yep.
and he's constantly catching shit.
Yep.
And it's
They
like,
treat him like shit.
why?
They treat him like
And
shit.
it's because he's a man.
Yep.
And they're women. I mean, that's how it is. It still had to be put in there. Still has to be put in there. They'll figure it out one day, but
No, they won't.
And for some people, they say, "Hey, big deal. I don't care. That doesn't mean anything to me." And I get it. I understand that. So we all like what we like, and you can listen to me rant and rave about it or whatever, and still not change your opinion, and that's totally fine. For me, it's just kind of giving you my opinion. But as far as trying to change someone's opinion, that's I just want people to maybe look at things with a critical eye, or maybe see things or hear about it and see something that maybe they didn't notice, right? That they didn't maybe notice before. And yes, Jake is correct. John Walker did nothing wrong. That's the craziest part to me. And Falcon and Winter Soldier, they make him out like he was the bad guy.
Travis, he was not the Wish version. He was a decorated war veteran and hero, and he killed terrorists for living, and he got taken down for killing terrorists.
Yeah.
That's what and he did everything. He sacrificed himself. He didn't want to take that serum, but he took that serum because he wanted to live up to the name of Captain America. He is this character, the way they've done him in these shows, he is no Wish version of Captain America. He is U.S. agent. He is a superhero in his own right, because he was not wrong, and he was a hero in everything that he did. So he's no discount hero.
He didn't try to replace Captain America. Remember, the government are the ones that gave him that. And you remember he put his medals on the inside of his shield, right?
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
His medals of honor that he had. So when he's fighting, like he could see those medals to remind him of why he's doing what he's doing. He didn't take the super serum, not until obviously after the fact, when all shit went to hell. But yeah, it was the government that was really kind of that had put him on that path. I mean, in this movie,
forced the Captain America name on him, and it wasn't his choice to do that. And
also,
he is U.S. agent.
They in this movie, they tried to portray him as a shitty dad, and you know how they do that, folks? I'm going to show you how they do it.
By doing everything that every dad has ever done ever since the beginning of time.
He's sitting in a chair while his baby is kind of crying, and he's looking at his phone like this, and the baby's in the crib, and he's watching the kid, and God knows everybody and their mother does that shit. And yet this is how they show us that he's a horrible father.
What a terrible dad.
So fucking stupid.
It's like he beat his kid or did something awful to his child.
It's so dumb.
No, he's just sitting there with his kid as his kid's crying, and he's letting his kid cry it out, because guess what? That's what the vast majority of people do on this planet. They let their kids cry it out because you know what? There's nothing wrong, and the kid has to figure that out for themselves before they stop crying like that.
But it was so funny, though, when I saw that. I thought, is that how they're showing he's a horrible dad? He was scrolling through his phone. I'm like, this is so dumb. And giving him a redemption arc, Mr. Wonderful, if the thing is, though, is like, I guess in my eyes, he shouldn't have a redemption arc because he didn't do anything wrong. You know what I mean? Like, but if that's how they played it, then yes, if that puts him back into whatever, we want to call good graces or whatever, and make, because honestly, I would love to see him as a main character. I think the actor alone was one of, if not the best piece of this film. I thought he was fantastic, and I would love for him moving forward.
Should be in charge of the new Avengers, because they had more screen presence and more tactical wisdom. They had more skill in everything that they did in this movie. That would say that they should be the leader of the new Avengers.
And I'll tell you what, also too, Mr. Wonderful. You know what? I will say this. Whether he was seen as a worthy replacement or not, I think most all of us agree that Sam Wilson is not the replacement. Sam Wilson is not Captain America. And they're working and trying real hard to make everybody believe it, and nobody's believing it. Right?
Sam Wilson is Falcon and should always be Falcon, because he's his own man. He doesn't have to take over the mantle of somebody else. He doesn't have to have hand-me-downs. He's his own character. Let him be his own character. He's strong in his own right.
Right. Man, Joseph says it's just cry therapy, man. You just let them cry themselves asleep, you meanie. You're a meanie with a hat. I have not watched Havoc on Netflix yet, but I have heard good things. There are some things I'm looking forward to, such as I think, is it Love, Death, and Robots that's got another season coming out maybe soon?
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. I saw an ad for it. It's one of those animated series for sure, but yeah. So nonetheless, look, I there are parts I liked about it. I think you'd agree. And there was a lot about the movie I wasn't crazy about. But I did like it better than the Marvels. Or the Eternals, rather. My bad.
I'd say the Marvels, the Eternals.
Well, the Marvels, and, the Eternals.
Inhumans, and whatever else.
But most everything that has come out since 2020, doesn't really sit high on my list. And so I will say I felt invested in this film while I was watching it. But yes, there's things for me that just takes me out of it, and I'm like, why did they make that decision? Man, hopefully moving forward they'll move past that, and I think hopefully with Kevin Feige back in the saddle again, maybe he is the main reason. Maybe he wasn't involved for 4 years, and that's why things really fell off. We'll see. We'll find out. So, but anyway, look, that's all I got. Matthew, I don't know about you. That's probably about gonna do it, man. We need to shut her down and get you to Betty by, buddy boy. That Energon Universe book is fun. Hound and Clutch meeting for the first time is really fun. It's a cool comic. I've been enjoying it, man. I really have. And I want to let you guys know. Let's see here. What do we have moving forward? I'll let you know, and then I'll find out from you. I guess, Sunday night we'll be doing another Unfiltered. I already have some stories saved that I think are pretty juicy. So hopefully you guys will join me for that. It'll be at 9:30 Central, 10:30 Eastern on Sunday night on my channel. My May Power of the Force review is on May the 14th. So I'm getting ready for that. And then other than that, man, Matthew, what do you got going on, I guess, coming up? Just some more photo sessions?
This is the free comic book day, Energon Universe comic book that came out this past Saturday. It's got a G.I. Joe, a Transformers, and a Void Rival story inside there. It's pretty cool. It's got a lot of good stuff. If you've been following that comic or those three comics, that's good. I've just got my regular stuff coming out weekly, daily with Instagram photographs, doing some cool stuff with all the different lines of things that we're talking about. Having fun playing with my toys, getting my play therapy in there, Travis. It's been a huge thing for me. They were talking about that tonight on Action Fig's channel. The toy lead, their topic was play therapy and psychological benefits of collecting and playing with toys. It's worth a watch, and I'm going to go finish it up because I didn't get a chance to finish the rest of it because we had to come do this show.
Yeah,
but they were getting into that story about the psychological benefits of buying, collecting,
with
playing
toys.
with toys.
Yeah.
Having photographs, the serotonin, all the effects that it has on the brain, and it's a good topic to get into. I think it's worthwhile for people to listen to because I think it's something that's deep in our psyche. We've got to have some of that outlet that lets our brain grow. So go check that out. It's a good topic. But other than that, just me taking pictures.
Yeah, man. Well, I guess I'll remind you guys of two things. One is if you get a chance to watch Tales of the Underworld on Disney Plus, I enjoyed it. It was really good. Animated, but that Clone Wars animation, they've really got that stuff dialed in. It looks beautiful. And the next 3 episodes of Andor, 7, 8, and 9, came out tonight on Disney Plus. I love Andor for what it is and what it isn't. And so if you dig Andor, check it out, man. So that's about it. I'll see you guys in a few days, and keep an eye out for Matthew on Instagram for sure. And really appreciate you guys coming and hanging out always, man. Really, it's a lot more fun when you do. And leave a like on the way out the door, and tell a buddy, bring a friend, and whatever you feel. Always feel free to come by and tell us what you think. All right, thanks,
and may
guys.
the Sith be with you.